To all our panelists and our viewers. Thanks for investing your time with us. I'm Garima Agarwal and I'll be moderating the session on India UAE Trade Corridor with Trade Reboot. So in this session, we will know the people behind Trade Reboot, what Trade Reboot is exactly about, what is the technology behind it, the idea behind Trade Reboot, and the India UAE Trade Corridor, and how the communities of traders, bankers, logistics, insurance can benefit from it going forward. So our goal for this conference is that whatever role of the participants in this industry is, that they can go away with something, a new idea, a fresh perspective, a new strategy that can be applied in a more successful way. So before the discussion, I'll take a moment to introduce our panelists. So we have Mr. Dheeraj Khandelwal. Dheeraj Khandelwal is a promoter and mentor of Trade Reboot. He is a chartered accountant since 1998 and is an elected member of Central Council of ICAI. He has an experience of more than 20 years in trading business of industrial commodities like metals and minerals. He has experience in commodities procurement via brokers and selling the commodities in international markets and stocks and shares. So, welcome, Mr. Dheeraj.
Thank you.
Next on our panel is Chirag Agarwal. Chirag has been instrumental in the expansion of this company. He's an expert in corporate outsourced CFO services, risk advisory services, and VAT consultancy. He firmly believes in risk management strategies and implements them on a daily basis. Welcome to our panel.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Ravi Chamria. He, as we call it, he's an IT-preneur and a blockchain thought leader backed by 20 plus years of experience in creating IT solutions in the areas of fintech, insurtech, supply chain, and e-commerce. He has been an evangelist and early adopter of blockchain technology and has designed various products and solutions. As a founder of Softkill Technology, a leading enterprise blockchain company in the world, Ravi has experience of more than 4 years in blockchain and smart contracts. Welcome, Mr. Ravi. Last but not the least, we have Vikram Pandya. Mr. Vikram is the director of FinTech in SP Jain School of Global Management, where he has designed Asia's first interactive classroom-led FinTech program featuring blockchain, PI banking, AI, ML, and IoT labs. He has authored several white papers and articles on the FinTech domain. He has an extensive experience in banking, financial services, FinTech, consultancy, and training domain.
Thank you.
I'm sure, so that is the intro from my end. I'm sure our audience would like to know more about the panel. So I would request them to kindly introduce themselves and give us a detailed bio about themselves. So let's start with you, Dheeraj sir.
I think you already introduced me. So I'm Dheeraj Khandelwal, chartered accountant, and very enthusiastic for the technology called blockchain. And I'm guiding this Trade Reboot in all technology perspective and functional perspective. So this is my introduction.
So Chirag, can you give us a brief detail?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chirag Agarwal. I'm chartered accountant by profession, and I am under the guidance of Mr. Dheeraj Khandelwal. I'm learning fintech. I'm learning this platform, Trade Reboot, and I would like to extend my thanks to Dheeraj ji for bringing this, all together in this conference, huge conference. And I have been living in UAE from last 5 years and helping companies. I am general manager of Earningo Consultancy as well as director of Trade Reboot, and helping my clients understanding the pain points, challenges with respect to statutory compliances in UAE and mitigating all the business risk and improvising the cash flows. Thank you so much.
Ravi sir.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ravi. I'm the co-founder, CEO of a blockchain automation platform called Zeev. I've been into blockchain through Softkill for almost 5 years now, and I've been part of Trade Reboot platform. I've been into technology domain for 21 plus years, and I have worked with various startups in last 10 to 15 years.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Vikram, please.
Thank you, Garima, for introduction. And very quickly, I will give further background. So I have been in banking and fintech domain for more than 15 years now. And the idea is that I can help startups and mentor startups to identify opportunities and strengthen the ecosystem. That's where I come in. And we also run Association for Emerging Technology. That's the Section 8 company as well, to strengthen the ecosystem. Over to you, Garima.
Yes. So, thanks for your introduction. So, before we start the panel discussion, I would just like to inform our audience that they can put their questions on the chat box, on the Q&A chat box, and we would be answering all of them towards the end of the session. So, starting with our discussion today, Mr. Chirag, I would like to ask you, so what is Trade Reboot all about? What is this Trade Reboot platform all about?
So Garima, before I answer you this question, can we have a video? Can you play the video, please, to have a glimpse of this platform?
The simple onboarding process for all stakeholders. All users will be verified through Trulio to give verified users to the platform, which makes the Trade Reboot more authentic. All documents and certificates are secured and non-accessible to other users. Users can manage their business details like company profile, commodity management, and bank profile. Users can create the user network by adding it manually or invite them through the portal. Users can also use Trade Reboot Global Directory to create a user network and start the trade process. Trade Reboot provides full control to manage the user network, like accepting the request and block any user. Trade Reboot provides a user-friendly process to create a contract. All required input with customized fields provides the user with more flexibility. Buyer and seller both have active participation throughout the contract process. Once both parties agree on each mentioned terms, an entry will be registered on the blockchain, and a watcher will start to monitor its progress as per terms and parameters defined in the contract. All activity will be registered in blockchain with timestamp to make the transaction immutable. All stakeholders will participate in the trade with their respective action. All actions are recorded and will be notified to buyer and seller to keep them updated. Trade Reboot empowered users with the facility to raise requests for quotations from different carriers and shipping companies around the platform. Carrier agents review the raise request and start communicating through the portal if interested. Carrier agents provide the best price for the trade. Trader reviews all the applications and selects the best option for the trade. Then a shipment contract becomes into existence with all required terms and conditions agreed by both parties. All activity will be registered in blockchain with timestamp to make the transaction immutable. All activity will be regularly monitored and notified to both parties. Both parties can see the real-time movement of the ship through tracking features. Users can also monitor the core details like moisture and temperature of the container through Trade Reboot IoT module integration. Trade Reboot provide a highly secure and managed process to maintain documents against each contract in finance. All documents can be digitally signed by privileged users to make them more authentic and verified. Users can put ACL on the document cabinet to make it more secure around the stakeholder. Every contract has its own cabinet and cannot be shared with any third party. Digital sign trail will be maintained to track the vessel through the Trade Reboot. Payment settlement methods such as letters of credit, LC, have been effective in case of reduction of risks for trading parties through bank simplification in the payment process. However, letters of credit still account for less than 1/5, 12% of international trade due to their associated high costs, high tax, contractual delays and process complexities. LCs have frequently been described as the pillar of global trade, but their value can be limited to a great extent by the risks and inefficiencies in the current process. At Trade Reboot, we provide digitized solutions to banks, traders, financiers, shippers, inspection agencies, and any other entity involved in a trade process through our blockchain-based platform. Using blockchain, an LC can be modeled as a smart contract between the bank and a supplier to guarantee payment to the supplier if the trade merchandise is delivered to the buyer in accordance with all specified conditions. Based on the documents submitted by the seller, evaluating and verifying that the LC conditions meet specified shipment deadlines can be automated through program logic to indicate compliance or non-compliance for each case. Trade Reboot gives the facility to enable the user to take finance against POLC invoice discounting. Users can request funds from lender, and lenders will further give the best offer against it. Exporter first has to create a credit limit with one of the financiers, and then can request funds for a trade. For fund requests, if the importer is not on board, the exporter has to provide all documents and details of the buyer, along with an approval letter from the buyer, to approve us to use his personal information. If a contract is not made on a platform through a trade tech, exporter also has to provide details of the contract. Demurrage and dispatch amount will also be calculated by Trade Reboot. The vessel master can verify the lay time data entered by the port agent. This amount can be included by the user at the time of invoice generation.
So, Mr. Chirag, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Garima, for displaying the video. So before I start telling about, the Trade Reboot, I would like to discuss one thing. Entrepreneurship journey, I have learned only one thing that comprises of things. The first and foremost is innovation or technological advancements.
Right.
Second is marketing, and third is value proposition to the clients. Since we are talking about technological advancements, innovation, we need to understand the true fundamental concept of technology and how it would solve the purpose at economy at large, not only in a limited scope, economy at large. Now, innovation, in my opinion, it means better ways to meet the stakeholders' expectation and make the transaction more efficient and effective, and with the reduction of resources and involvement of the time and human resources. Again, at the same time, if you talk about, the stakeholder expectations, the security and the confidentiality is one of the major expectation of stakeholders. And if we are aligned with these all parameters, that will make the real difference in the technology. That will make the real difference in the innovation. And now let's talk about the Trade Reboot platform. So Trade Reboot platform is all about the technological advancements, and this is with respect to the trade finance. Now, how it is helping the trade finance parameters, this is, we are bringing all the ecosystem at one platform, be it a banker, be it a trader, be it a financer, be it a logistics company, freight forwarder, all the ecosystem, it's in a one platform with all the smart contracts, which would enable the trade in a very seamless fashion, in a very seamless manner, with reduction of resources and time by almost more than 50%, I would say. And this technology is based on, blockchain. And if you talk about blockchain technology, so for any blockchain technology, as far as my knowledge, there are three essential pillars of the blockchain technology. The first and foremost is the decentralization, where, the transfer of control of an activity or organization to several local offices or authorities rather than one single. The second important pillar for blockchain is privacy and transparency, which we already discussed. That is a fundamental core expectation of the stakeholder. And the third pillar, I would say, is immutability. In this platform, we have brought all the pillars together to safeguard the interest of all the stakeholders in one channel, in one platform, and increasing the volume growth of the transactions. Because once we have, less number of time, resources, we can increase the number of transactions to infinite.
Right.
And then the real difference will come in the economy, because if the transaction will increase, the economy will increase at large, because trade finance, importer, exporter, tantamounts to, I think, it's trillion of figures. I don't know the exact numbers, but I can ensure that this would be huge numbers.
Right.
So this would increase the number of transactions and ultimately will ease the economy boom globally.
So very well said, Chirag, where we are looking at technology, Trade Reboot being a technology initiative to boost the economy through reducing the turnaround time and increasing the turnover. And that would ultimately give a boost to the economy. So I would like to know from Mr. Dheeraj, so what exactly is this India, the trade? What are the different products and solutions that are offered by trade?
So I think India UAE corridor, which you were talking about, why it is means. See, when we are having a blockchain transaction where we need to have a two people. So when we talk about the trade, in the trade there has to be a buyer and a seller. And we talking about international trade, there has to be importer and exporter. Importer is from another country and one exporter is from another country. Two different countries is required. When we talk about a SaaS product and utilizing the services, we need to engage in two different countries, resources. Whether it's all people connected to the all trade. So suppose in the trade, we are connecting with the insurance company, we are connecting with the shipping company, we are connecting with the banks, and we connecting with the importer or exporter. So same things going to require in the different country. We need to connect in the corresponding country with the all people. Unless and until we are having connect with the same people in the country or people are there on the same country in the same platform, the transaction cannot be happen.
Right.
And that is to facilitate when we are marketing ourselves in the blockchain across all the platform. We are marketing that people can come and bring get the good efficiency, but that not to be there that importer has to, it's the corresponding party, the importer or exporter has to be there, and their intermediaries also to be there, so that we are bringing the UAE first, because in India, if we have the importer or exporter from India and their corresponding party, we should also have a different country perspective, and we choose India and UAE, which is very a possible combination. India's 10% trade of the India's export and import are from the UAE, which means about 700 out of $700 billion transaction, about $70 billion dollar transactions are happening from UAE, and that's why it's a UAE corridor. We wanted to bridge the gap of India and UAE to come on the same platform. UAE people of the insurance company, shipping company, and banks and traders can come onto the platform. Same way, India people also come on the platform, so that we can bring a good solution to the importer and exporter. That is why we are having a India UAE trade corridor. We from this conference we are urging all the people of importer and exporter of the both the countries to utilize these facilities, and our office is also there in the Middle East as well as in India. We can facilitate all intermediaries in the best possible manner, and they can utilize the service of the trade boot in the best possible manner.
So as I understand that the corridor, the India-UAE trade corridor is essentially bringing stake owners from both the countries get on one platform, that is trade corridor with trade. So we understand
your voice is cracking. I think Garima, your voice is not properly coming. So voice is cracking. Please say it again.
Yeah. So I was saying that essentially India-UAE trade corridor is about bringing all the entire ecosystem of two different countries together on one platform. Trade Reboot is attempting to do this conference and this corridor, India-UAE trade corridor. So I would like to ask Mr. Chirag here that how UAE is taking lead when it comes to technological advancements, since you said that you've been residing there for 5 years. So what is the technology in UAE?
So as Dheeraj ji mentioned, very valid point, that I was not aware of this 10% of trade is happening between, India and UAE, and 70 billion amount, it's a dollars, right?
Dollars. Yes, it's dollar.
between India and UAE. So this is kind of, huge numbers. And see, if you, to answer your question, how advancements in UAE, see, technology, if you see across the globe, has evolved a lot from Nokia to Motorola, then from Motorola to Apple. Yeah. And we have seen, because of technology, the company has washed out. Many companies have washed out. See, Nokia, Kodak. So because of the technological advancement, so yesterday I was watching Mr. Rajesh Somani session. He rightly mentioned either we have to adopt the technology or we washed out.
Right.
So see, UAE, it was a land of desert, and now it is land breathtaking skyscrapers. Why? Only because of technological advancements. The only reason is technology and innovation has played a vital role in the transformation in the UAE economy. Now, UAE step forward when it comes to artificial intelligence or blockchain technology or XYZ technology. Even UAE was the first country when they had one minister. So they had a minister, first country to structure for the intelligence. And they change is the only constant. And hats off to the leaders, the founder and the successors of UAE. Because of them, they are adopting the technology. See, the power to adopt is most important. And the change, to accept the change, is what we should look forward for in main and in the sustainability. Because business sustainability, technology plays most important role.
Right.
In UAE, I would say, they are by Emirates and Maastricht Neo, they are 100% digital. Other examples would be, in UAE, there are smart police stations where intervention 100% is technology. You can report anything and everything just by the application.
Right.
So this is the power of technology. Last day, I was shocked. I was flabbergasted. I was on the beach and no one is coming to deliver the coffee. So the technology is everywhere in every sector of UAE, be it health, be it education, be it aviation sector, be it renewable energy. Everywhere in UAE, it's there. From toothpick to toothpick, innovation is there. And I strongly believe, the rulers of UAE and their thought process, their leaders making this happen. Because they always, as I mentioned, change is the only constant. And there are many upcoming projects in UAE. There are a lot of technical developments like Hyperloop technology is going to come, which is going to reduce the time from 2 hours to 12 minutes from traveling time between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Historically, we have seen many projects. There are many projects like autonomous cars, smart police stations, a real life robotic system, solar plant. So technology is everywhere, and UAE, if you talk about it, is always at the top when it comes to automation. So yeah, technology is huge, and the technology future in this part of the world is bright and will never shade out.
Right.
Over to you, Karima.
Yeah, we understand that UAE, the entire development of UAE economy has been based on technology, and that's what it's looking forward to. So very well said, Chirag, that change is the only constant, and I think UAE has adapted to it very quickly earlier as well, and it continues to do so. So I would like to ask Mr. Dheeraj sir again that talking about Trade Reboot, what exactly are the different products and solutions that we are offering? Since we saw in the video also, there were different solutions that were mentioned for different stakeholders. So could you give us a detail about them, your perspective about the solutions?
Yeah, I think, as I said, that it's primarily for trader, importer and exporter. And when we connect with this for importer and exporter, we need intermediaries. And generally, intermediaries feel that why it is required and why they going to be on the in cloud, why they will be part of it. Just wanted to believe that each and every individual stakeholders are important over here and are going to benefit it from this blockchain and this kind of solution. Let's say example, importers are there and exporters are there. They are getting benefited through the document management and as well as LC management. In the document management and LC management, if I say that there are, for the exporter, the credit transactions are becoming a cash transactions. Suppose they are making a payment through LC, the exporter will get it in 15 to 20 days time by either way for site LC or discounting the usance. So by having this platform in document management, they can get immediately utilize the cash once the document going to be checked on the same day. Second is the banks also be going to benefit, and this is called a product is trade tech. In the trade tech, it's a document management, MIS reporting, and LC management product is there. The second product is which we can talk about logistic. In the logistic, which is also part of the trade tech, where the shipping company are also got involved because they has to issue a EBLs, because unless and until shipping company going to be there, they cannot issue a EBL. And if they don't issue the EBL, that again in the loop the transaction got delayed. So we included the logistic part, and in that logistic also the entire logistic supports are being inbuilt in the software in the SaaS model product. So this product is also for the shipping company or shipping operator and freight forwarder, entire logistic part is all solution is there, where the latent time sheets also being calculated very beautifully, and this is the product for the logistic and shipping company. Second thing is that banks are there. They can also give the trade finance like NBFCs, banks, because sometimes the transactions of the international trade are happening not through the LC or not through the advance payment. So it's happened with the DA, DP or credit transactions. If happens in a credit transactions for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, the exporters require a funding. Their working capital limits going to be required, and for that meeting of the working capital limits, the finance options also being included, where the banks or NBFC can come and give the limit to the exporter. There are 2-3 methods, pre-shipping finance or post-shipment finance. In the post-shipment, invoice factoring is also one of the aspects which been included, which is rarely happens in India, and which is we provided. And even in that, we have option of marketplace. In the trade finance, we are having 4 or 5 companies where the exporter can check which are the least interest product are there, and they can get the discounting from that company and can benefit. So these are the trade finance vertical. As I said, trade tech vertical, trade finance vertical, shipping vertical. Same way we have the insurance also. In the insurance, we need to have an insurance company for a marine insurance, because the goods movement are there from one country to another country. We require a cargo marine insurance of this product that can also be logged in on the online, and the insurance company going to be there, they can do it. And second aspect of the insurance is trade credit insurance. So generally different, not in India, it's like suppose in UAE or any other country, those are having exports, they can take the credit insurance of the buyer, and then immediately that insurance credit can be discounted with the banks. So that's also the trade credit insurance are also very beneficial, and that we included in the product. So these are the various products are there into the system, and all my again emphasizes all that those whomsoever are on the platform, whether it's an importer, whether it's an exporter, whether it's a bank, whether it's an insurance company, whether it's a shipping company, all going to be benefited. All people going to be benefited, and then only it's a single transaction can be benefit to the exporter. So it's all round. So all people is needed in the blockchain, and for having a document management. And but having that said, also each individual vertical is also get benefited with that separate transactions.
Right. So you seem to be covering the entire ecosystem of trade with the logistics part, with exporters and importers, trade for traders, insurance, you're also providing for them technology.
Your voice is not coming, Garima. I'm not able to hear. I think Chirag, you also not getting that voice.
Yeah, your voice is breaking,
not,
Garima. So I think
you will need to use earphones. I think it is echoing again. So because of that, you need to use earphones.
or maybe your connection is not stable. Maybe.
I think it was echoing. So that's the issue.
Can you give me a minute, please?
Sure, sure.
So I think I just wanted to brief the all participant over here. This system is a very useful. It's a futuristic solutions, and I urge my all countries, importer and exporter, at least try this. And this is a secure transaction, and it can integrate with the ERP. The whatever the system you are using in your organization can integrate it in your system and can be usable. So it's beneficial for all people. And in the case of trade finance, I would say that in India, there are about $60 billion transactions are happening on credit transactions, $60 billion transaction. And I believe that hardly 5 or 6 billion transactions are covered through the finance. Otherwise, people are MSME sectors, small sectors are there. They are not having the credit limits and not financing positions, and they are struggling it. And if the same kind of transactions are backed by the finance, this 60 billion transaction can go up to the MSME segment to the 100 to 200 crores. So where India is having a export of $350 billion transaction, I would say we should have at least a matching transaction with the import of $450 billion transaction. And it's very achievable. India have the lot of land of opportunity, lot of varieties and demands or export item, small things are there, SME segments are there. But the only issue is the working capital limit. People doesn't have the working capital and people doesn't have the connect. And we are bringing that gap. We are providing the finance solution to all SME. We don't require your balance sheet. We don't require your collateral. We don't want your any kind of security. This finance are only meant for them for by having buyers limit. So we have to check the buyer's credential. If the buyers are good, you will get funded by having discount of the invoice. So this is one of the best product. This product will increase the GDP of India in tremendous manner. And I believe that once it's moved to the entire pan India with the $60 billion transaction and then move to the in 1 or 2 years with the new people, I believe that our exports cannot be stoppable from 350 to $500 billion also. So it's going to be huge exports, and we wanted to support all MSME people with such kind of funding, and we are reaching to the across nation major cities destination hub, and going to start with the 50 offices. So we wanted to, so any kind of queries are there. So trade reboot offices there, and their people are there, and you can contact them. And this is a wonderful product which I wanted to brief each and everyone.
Yes. That was Trade Reboot sir, for all the participants. So I would like to know from Mr. Ravi sir. So what is the trade? What inspired Trade Reboot, and how can you tell us about the journey of Trade Reboot?
Yeah. So so I was running a blockchain startup called Sophocle, and fortunately, I got a chance to work with ICAI 3 years back. In fact, 4 years back. And I ran a series of webinars, which almost 3,000 plus chartered accountants attended. And that's how I think Dheeraj got to know me. He connected with me, and then we met in Delhi. And that's how the idea was born. He is very strong as far as the domain is concerned. So he had been into trade finance area domain, and being a chartered accountant adds to the expertise.
Right.
And I was having a decent expertise on the technology as well as on the domain because I've been into digital lending for almost 12, 13 years. So that's how the idea was born. And I think trade finance, in any case, was one of the most established use case of blockchain.
Okay.
The challenges were very clear, and the role of technology was very clear. So rather than just applying technology for the sake of applying, you were very clear that emerging technologies like blockchain and AI will definitely disrupt as far as the trade finance domain is concerned. So that's how the idea was born, and we started working on it and built the whole platform over a span of around 1.5 years.
Very well. So I understand.
But before that, I just wanted to add, all motivation and all credit goes to the Bikram. He always up for this kind of technology. He wanted to come out some such kind of product. He prepared initial draft, initial working, how it can be. He shown the way forward. Use of the applicability of the blockchain to the trade. So thank to the Bikram for guiding this entire journey. With the trade.
Yes, so I did not mention in my
Thank you, Dheeraj ji.
but I would like to add that Mr. Vikram here is the fintech ambassador for Maharashtra government Uday fintech platform also. So yes, so from you we would like to know, how do you see digitalization in trade finance platform, and what role can a startup like Trade Reboot play in that?
Sure. So I will cover this into two parts. One is that we need to look at why India and UAE corridor is the right corridor for this. If you look at Southeast Asia and if you look at from the MENA region, specifically GCC, etc., that's where the majority of the trade will happen, right? When you look at from India. And when you look at trade finance is the low-hanging fruit for blockchain technology use case, given that it fits into all the four core pillars of the blockchain, right? One is that you have fraud likelihood. Of course, in trade finance, you have fraud likelihood, normal trade finance. Then you have number of intermediaries, which is very high. So blockchain reduces or brings everyone on the same platform. Right. Then you have throughput. So when you look at some of the situations, when you look at some of the other systems like trading systems, throughput is very high. Blockchain typically is not suitable for such system. However, in trade finance specifically, your transactions will not go beyond few hundred per second to begin with. So even from that perspective, it is very useful and very suitable for that. And last but not the least, when you look at stability of the data. So once data is entered, it is not tweaked too much. And when you look at from that perspective also, the blockchain becomes very suitable. So hence, if you look at McKinsey report or any other report, blockchain comes into, so basically trade finance comes into first quadrant of any use case when it comes to blockchain. That is the first part. Now, second part, when you look at from the technological perspective, why platform like Trade Reboot or any other platform for that matter is going to be the need of the hour, because when it comes to friction during the entire transaction, there are so many documents required, there are so many parties involved, and people had in past created their own isolated solution. Now even banks are working in consortiums and creating something, but there is a requirement of a serious effort when it comes to how to build ecosystem, how to make sure that not only in India, but across different countries, how can you augment this trade very well from someone who has been trading since ages and has that experience. So somebody who is doing that, and then technology is bringing that efficiency that changes the way entire ecosystem is then evolved. So that is number one. And on the other hand, when you look at other technologies, so blockchain can do certain things, but when it comes to IoT, big data, AI, ML, all those technologies together, when you combine, then it will really unleash the magic for this particular use case. Because after trade finance, when you look at the other use cases, when it comes to cross-border payment or any other, all of them are tied up to trade finance itself. Whether it is going to be your Ripple-based or Swift GPI-based transfer, or whether it is going to be enhancing the way you are able to remove the reconciliation process altogether. All those use cases are going to be part of the trade finance any which ways. And because of that, to start with trade finance and then make sure that the entire different value chains are then connected together, and you can unlock the value by decoupling certain areas and then recoupling it based on the most efficient path is going to be very critical. That is from my side. Over to you, Garima.
Yeah, so what you have explained is that we still have a long way to go in terms of digitalizing trade finance. We are still we still have to bring the entire value chain together. So for this, I would like to know more about blockchain technology from you, Ravi sir. Can you tell me where are the blockchain nodes hosted? So I understand there's a lot of stigma about blockchain. A lot of our users, they're not exactly aware how secure blockchain is. There is a lot of stigma about it. So can you tell us something about it? That what are the pros and cons, and why should they not be concerned about security?
So, so I think I would say the concern is a bit misplaced. So one, when we build any blockchain-based application, so one is the traditional security that needs to be applied. So when we talk about application, the application needs to be well designed, well coded with all security best practices. And as a standard practice, once the application is ready for deployment, we go through a VAPT exercise. So we get a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing done through a third party, so that there is another third eye which looks into the application and sees if something has been missed from a security perspective. So that's the securing the application per se. And as far as the blockchain layer of the application is concerned, blockchain itself lends to a decent amount of security to the overall application. One, mainly from a data perspective, because the way blockchain ledger has been constructed, any data that goes into the blockchain ledger is immutable. And plus there is a immutable audit trail, so that no unauthorized access or unauthorized changes of data can be done. So the data integrity is something which can be assured or ensured using the blockchain application. The second part is the network, where the blockchain nodes are going to be hosted. So again, there is a standard, hardening procedures where all server instances where the blockchain nodes are hosted needs to be properly hardened. All the security aspects needs to be taken. Security rules need to be configured. Access controls, etc., needs to be defined. So that's the traditional part of it. And then, of course, whatever more can be done in terms of where the nodes are being hosted, whether they are being hosted in a private data center. Let's say we talk about banks. Banks typically would like to host the nodes within their own data center, maybe a private cloud, maybe a on-premise data center. And then there may be some public instances. So when we have public instances, then again, security becomes very important as to which all ports are open, how the how different access have been restricted or allowed. So that is what is the security. So I think in blockchain-based application, applying all the security best practices along with the core native features of blockchain and strengthening the network side of it, the hosting side of it, one can be very sure about the security on a blockchain platform.
Just wanted to add one more point. Such kind of platform with what we are having, there always be query from the all traders, import and exports, whether if they are joining, whether their data going to be shared or their data going to be secured or not. Just wanted to brief them again and again. Their data is very much secured, will not to be shared to anyone. This data, whatever you are sharing, is going to be encrypted. Even the company of Tradeboot cannot, see it and cannot, read it. So that is the main point. It's on security reason, because that is the beautiful part of the blockchain. It's all the data are encrypted. Even the administration or the people of the software cannot, know it, what the data are. So this is the data secrecy and privacies are there.
Right. So yeah, so we can tell our participants that blockchain, the entire concept of blockchain is about encryption and making your data safe. So there is no need to worry about the data security. So like when you mentioned nodes, I wanted to know if there's a company with a large amount of data, and if it wants its own node, is that possible for them?
Yeah. So so when you see a blockchain-based application or a blockchain-based network, it's a distributed ledger technology. So primarily when we put the platform on production, at that time, we normally take care of hosting the nodes. So we create a minimum set of nodes which is defined as a best practice, and we set up the network. But yes, the whole decentralized application has been built in such a way so that different key stakeholders, whether it be banks, whether it be exporter importers, whether it be shippers or freight forwarders, whether it be insurers or regulatory authorities like quality inspection and other third parties. So the application has been designed in a decentralized way so that if they want to host their own nodes, they can do that. And what we have done is we have used Zeev, our own product, to automatically, which allows automated deployment of these nodes and also allow onboarding of new stakeholders into the platform. So if you want to, let's say, invite a new stakeholder, it's as easy as sending a SMS or email invite, and the other person can simply click on it and set up a node on the cloud of its choice, whether it be on-premise, private or public cloud. And everything can be done, just with few clicks without any DevOps knowledge or expertise required.
All right. So I understand that Trade Reboot can provide such services to different companies.
Right.
Right. So, okay, taking the conversation further. So the blockchain can be encoded in different languages, if I understand it the right way. There could be different languages in which you can put a blockchain network together. So how different blockchain platforms work together with these different language coding?
Okay, I'll just rephrase the question a bit. So yes, there are various blockchain protocols in the market, and each protocol has its own nuances in terms of how the smart contracts are written. So some of the smart contracts are written in Solidity, like Ethereum, and other protocols have their own preferences as far as language is concerned. There are some new gen blockchain protocols which give much more flexibility as to what language you choose to write the smart contracts in. One of the major initiatives which have been happening is how to bring in interoperability among the different blockchain protocols. And I think Vikram can also add, and Vikram has been into blockchain research. We have been working with, we have done some work with IEEE and we are involved with them to work on the blockchain interoperability. For us, I think that's going to be one of the major breakthrough in the blockchain space when we achieve a very seamless interoperability among different blockchain platforms. Like for example, Trade Reboot, we have built the whole platform using Hyperledger Fabric. Now there are some platforms which are built using R3 Coda, or some platforms which are built using Sawtooth and various other protocols. A time will come when there would be a lot of data exchanges or transaction exchanges that will happen, because there would be common set of suppliers or exporters, importers, banks across different networks. And yes, interoperability would be required in such a scenario. So this is something which is being worked on. A limited level of interoperability has already been achieved among specific chains, but yes, a large scale and true interoperability is still being worked on. Vikram, anything you would like to add here?
Sure. So basically, as you rightly said, when you look at some of these technologies, those were created like around 2008, like Bitcoin, Litecoin. Those versus when you look at some of the new age technologies where it is much more recent, and you have not even blockchain as such, you have BlockDAG framework or BlockDAG framework, as we say, or even hash graph or hash format, mesh format. So those are going to be kind of a challenge to interoperate. And then the idea here is make sure that, okay, even if you create your own APIs and create middlewares in between, it is not going to work well. So what happens nowadays is that you have certain protocols at a protocol layer. Let's say if you have Interledger protocol implemented, then that Interledger protocol will allow you to then make sure that the token at least can go through one blockchain to another blockchain. Even latest version of Ethereum, ETH2, allows you to have that one beacon chain and then shardings, which are available with same idea that, okay, you can have your own chain doing certain things on Ethereum itself, but it is not the part of main chain. So you have that way to interact with the main chain. At the same point in time, you are operating your own governance and your own entire ecosystem separately. So there are multiple different ways people have started utilizing this innovation, as well as people have started realizing that, okay, tomorrow, whenever something new comes, even blockchain, the way we call it blockchain today is no longer in that true sense of blockchain, but whatever new comes, at the end of the day, you should be able to use any new technology with existing technology. So it should be backward compatible as well as forward compatible. And that is where I think APIs and everything are going to have an impact. Also, when you talk about standardization, as Ravi mentioned, so you have even W3 as a protocol. If you look at, they are also trying to create something. So let's see what happens there.
Okay.
So another thing that the users of the platform can possibly be concerned about is the audit trail. So does Trade Reboot maintain an audit trail?
Yeah, absolutely. So one, this is, as I mentioned, all the sensitive data or critical data of the application, either the hashes or the data in some form is being stored on the blockchain ledger. On blockchain ledger, whatever data goes in, there's absolutely an immutable audit trail. And then apart from that, there is a lot of data which is off-chain, which is not part of the ledger. There also, as a standard application, we are having complete logging in, all the activities, logins, access controls, etc. And there is a complete audit trail. Again, the hash of it, which goes onto the blockchain to ensure it further. We are using, for storage also, we are using decentralized storage, like IPFS. So all the documents, the hashes of documents and other media files, that also is being stored in a decentralized storage. And there also we are managing the completely immutable audit trail. So as far as the audit trail is concerned, and that is something which is, see, as Dheeraj said, when he answered about the privacy and compliance related concerns, that all the data is encrypted and there is a decentralized governance which controls the whole platform, that not even the platform owners or the platform operators would be able to access any of the data of exporter, importer, banks, or so on and so forth. And that is where the whole audit trail becomes a very central piece. Because if something goes wrong, until unless there is a proper logging activities, there is a proper audit trail, it would be very difficult to pinpoint as to where the things went wrong, right? So the idea of using a blockchain-based application in a true sense, it's not just a simple application where you apply a ledger and then just put some hashes there. That's a very very low level of implementation of blockchain. In Trade Reboot, we have tried to build a purely decentralized app itself, a dApp, and try to have each and every pieces, whether it be a storage, whether it be logging, whether it be a audit trail, etc., completely decentralized.
Right. So Trade Reboot will provide an audit trail to its users. So Vikram sir, I would like to ask you one question over here about the fundings. Can you please explain STO as an option of raising funds globally?
Sure. So there are multiple ways somebody can raise the fund. Specifically, when you look at blockchain, how it has decentralized the power itself. And when you look at data, is a new oil and people are trying to identify various methods to monetize the data. But in blockchain, it is the opposite. You want to make sure that the data privacy is maintained. You are owner of your own data. And that is where people have looked at solutions like ICO, which is initial coin offering, and then STO, which is security token offering. And then when you look at these two different options, what does it mean, right? So ICO effectively is kind of utility token. Specifically, when you talk about utility token, it is similar to reward points. In your general nuance, you can think about reward points, and then it is the utility token. But when it comes to STO, it is similar to your equity. And it is the nature of STO, which is very different than the ICO, that requires regulation. So when you talk about STO brings that transparency, governance, regulatory oversight. And because of that, people also have more trust. So ICO, people just raise and run away. Nobody knows, because then you don't have that much regulatory oversight. But the moment you want trust in the system, you want to be held accountable by regulators saying that, look, I'm doing something which is innovative, but I'm still ready to being subjected to this regulation. And because of which I'm trying to look at the blockchain as a way to raise fund, but not to, let's say, counteract or run away from the regulation. So from that perspective, STO becomes very good opportunity for blockchain-based startups or blockchain-based companies to raise funding, to demonstrate that, look, we are interested in making sure that we are regulated, as well as to ensure that, look, because of this entire decentralization, you can also become stakeholder. It is your company as well. And because of that, this entire STO creates that ecosystem overall in future as well, where people will be able to participate, and there can be multiple different ways. So one type of STO can be a simple equity token, and you are saying that you will have profit sharing right. That is what it will mean. You will not have any voting right. Then another type of token may mean that, okay, it is a commodity token where people are able to get into this commodity market, and rather than buying 1 ton, 2 ton, which is impossible for people like you and me to buy, they will go for, let's say, a few kgs. And once you can tokenize that, it becomes again commodity token. It is still, let's say, regulated under the different regulatory regime based on the commodity regulation. But again, it is a different kind of STO. So when you look at STO, either it can be equity, or it can be commodity, or it can be even structured product. For example, I can create a bond, I can create revenue note. There can be any different set of products, right? The structured product also will become part of STO. Then you have certain non-fungible products, right? So when you talk about today's market, non-fungible tokens are everywhere. People are paying millions of dollars to buy non-fungible tokens. So here also it can be a possibility that when you talk about a specific contract, kind of OTC customized contract, that can be a non-fungible token contract given to that party, saying that, okay, this represents this XYZ thing and it is unique to you. So that is again a possibility where this entire structuring, right from security-based token offering to securitized token offering, all this different offering will be under STO regime. And then end of the day, when you talk about innovation in future, even because the securities are smart contract-based securities, what you can then do is that, let's assume that it should not be allowed to go outside one geography to another geography. So again, you can pre-program those securities. And because of that, you don't need to do that much governance, or again, compliance requirement is much lower because of this. And in future, even countries' own regulators will recommend people to have these smart securities. You don't need to then comply with specific several regulation. Everything is pre-programmed in the security itself. Over to you, Garima.
I think very rightly said by the Bikram, for the blockchain-based kind of company, it's a very easy to raise the fund. So these are the options which Bikram has spelled out. And it's a very easy to take the stake with such kind of platform and company, because generally such kind of company startups are very much in demand, and everyone wanted to participate. So having participate with the small amount, say a 1 token, small token, can be participate in this kind of company, and we can be futuristic holder of this company. So we in the trade board also are planning to have such kind of offering to the people, even an exporter or intermediaries or the investors, is assets based tokenized, and they can invest and they can participate. So we are also planning to have such kind of offering with the regulated environments.
Just to add one more point there, because I think when you talk about funding, even crowdfunding is getting popular more and more. And because of that, I personally believe that even crowdfunding is one of the solutions for people who are into this ecosystem. Specifically, when you look at US's crowdfunding regulation, RegCF, that is very lenient, as well as you have much more demand today, appetite today in that market specifically to look at both outside US and US companies. But again, in India also, regulations are slowly but surely becoming more and more accommodative to ensure that people are able to look at sandboxes which are available by various regulator, and you can create your own solution. And that is where I think the future innovation will happen in India. So that is from my side. And I think very quickly, Ravi, I think there's one question on which blockchain platform Trade Reboot uses. So you can touch upon that.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned this. So we are using Hyperledger Fabric as the core blockchain protocol, which
Correct.
covers the whole trade report platform.
So yes, in the interest of time, I have a couple of more questions from the audience. So one of our audience, they've asked about SAP integration. So I think Ravi, so you would be the right person.
Yeah, so so we have created a very robust integration layer, which so that the whole platform can interface with various other platforms, whether it be ERP platforms like SAP, whether it be accounting or financial packages or platforms, and whether it be integration with third parties like banks or NBFCs who want to join the platform. So their LOS, LMS systems. And if we talk about, let's say, shippers, etc., where they want to connect with their proprietary systems or any kind of custom software that they are using. So we have a complete sophisticated API layer, which allows data exchange with various third-party platforms, including SAP.
And because there is no legacy involved, I think it is much more robust and flexible enough.
Right.
Another question that I have is, so this person wants to say that foreign buyers who send links for uploading contracts, can it be done through Trade Reboot platform?
Can you repeat the question?
Right. So their foreign customer, their buyers send their links for uploading the contract. So can we access the contract through our platform? Can we integrate their contracts?
Yeah, absolutely. So as displayed quickly on the video and as Dheeraj mentioned as one of the core feature of the Trade Tech piece, we have a complete contract management on Trade Reboot platform.
Right.
So you can not just share, but you can actually create a contract with all the different iterations of the contract. Again, all the iterations are stored in the blockchain so that there is a complete transparency of all the iterations before a contract is finalized with all the terms of the contract. And the best part is that the terms of the contract, which are objective part of the contract, they are again encoded separately in the blockchain so that you can search the contract whenever you want to search for any objective term. So it's a very very strong implementation of a contract management in a platform. And
I think the question that they were trying to ask is that what if they are using manual system and they want us to upload the contract?
Yes.
I think even for that it is possible. Even that the way we have thought about is that even the traditional ecosystem can connect with this, and that's the reason it is much more flexible.
So there, the minimum requirement is that once the contract is uploaded, both the parties need to sign the contract, so that both the parties agree that yes, this is the final copy of the contract. Because once it has been signed by both the parties, then that contract is being used by banks and other third parties as part of the ecosystem. So and once buyer and seller agree that yes, this is the final version of the contract, which is going to be used for this specific transaction, then that becomes a final contract in the system.
Right. So I think in the interest of time, I'd quickly like to summarize our discussion. So Trade Reboot, yes, it provides different solutions to different stakeholders. We have Trade Tech, FinTech, InsurTech, Logitech for different stakeholders, and it is an entire ecosystem. And through this corridor, we are trying to bring the two ecosystems in different countries together, in UAE and India together. And it is a security.
I just wanted to interrupt one more point. In this complete transaction in rotation, there's one more party is inspections.
Right.
So if we are also having the inspection agencies on the online, because that also eliminate the inefficiencies in the system, because sometimes inspection takes some more time, for 3 to 4 days time to give the report. That is where we are having a digitalized system for the inspection agencies. And second format is standardization of the inspection report. And third is, benefit is authenticate report.
Right.
So generally in the trade, there always be difficult to, check the report of the company, whether it's genuine or not genuine, because being technology is also a disaster. Sometimes you can take a copy and change the date, change the things in each and everything in the PDF format and any kind of formats. and you can produce a different set of the report, inspection report. Once you are on the blockchain and the company is coming the certificate on the blockchain, it's authenticate, it cannot be changed, and people can see it. So one of the major advantage of this entire our system is that is going to be authenticate report from the inspection agency, which is a certified that is on blockchain, is not changeable, and it's whatever are there in original format are the same reports are there. So that is the another example which I wanted to bring, that inspected.
Also providing them the authenticated document benefits. So
Yes.
yeah, this has been, we can conclude.
Yes, Garima, one more point I would like to highlight here. In today's world right now, digitization or trade reboot platform, it would allow the better control of the credit facilities, which is the hindrance in today's world. So as Dheeraj mentioned, export letter of credit, it would enable the faster documentation preparation and reduction of the errors as well. So it would allow the trade time, instead of 2 months, it would be like 20 days or 15 days. So the time gap would reduce, and then the number of transactions would increase. And also at the buyer side, they will receive the goods at much earlier stage. So it is the full ecosystem as we discussed. So not only one party, the full ecosystem is going to benefit. And the only solution here is trade reboot right now.
Right. So trade reboot being the only solution, I hope the viewers are seeing that and understanding that trade reboot is providing them a unique solution it's a one-stop shop for all of their problems. So I think with this, we can conclude our session here. And I would like to thank the panelists for making this an extremely informative session. And yes, we'll begin the next session shortly. The next session is the future and
Thank you so much.
industry. And Mr. Chiragia would be moderating that. So, Chirag.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I have. Thank you so much. Thank you, Garima. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, co-panelists.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Bye.